Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, Sharon. I'm great. Thank you so much.
Great to see you. Senior Royals Editor Michelle Tauber. So happy you're here to help us break down the latest in the ongoing Prince Andrew scandal. As you know, this past Monday, the BBC's long-running current affairs programme Panorama aired an interview with Andrew's accuser, Virginia Roberts Giuffre. As we like to remind everyone, she made People magazine's 2019 list of women changing the world. And as I said, the interview premiered in the UK on Monday, but we understand it was actually filmed in late October. It's going to be playing here in the US this coming weekend on BBC World News. Let's start with this clip.
I implore the people in the UK to stand up beside me, to help me fight this fight, to not accept this as being okay. This is not some sordid sex story. This is a story of being trafficked.
Now, in some ways, I suppose you could say this is a he said, she said situation. Giuffre alleges she was forced to have sex with the prince 3 times between 1999 and 2002 when she was just 17 years old. Meanwhile, Prince Andrew denies ever having met her. Before we dive in, here's another clip from Giuffre's interview.
I'm calling BS on this because that's what it is. He knows what happened. I know what happened. And there's only one of us telling the truth. And I know that's me.
So, Michelle, let's start with what does everyone actually agree on here? What are the undisputed facts of this scandal? Are there any?
Yes. So, for starters, we know that Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender. And Prince Andrew did indeed have a friendship with him. He does not deny that. Of course, he now expresses his regret at his association with Epstein and at his continued association with him even after Epstein had been convicted as a sex offender. So those things are not in dispute. Virginia Giuffre is one of Epstein's victims, and that also, is something that she has been unwavering in. So those are the facts that we know to be true.
Right. Well, one of the many points that Giuffre and Andrew definitely don't agree on is having danced together at a London nightclub. Here's a clip of Andrew from his BBC interview insisting that he couldn't possibly have been sweating profusely on the dance floor, as claimed by Giuffre.
I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at. And I simply, it was almost impossible for me to sweat.
Okay, and here's Giuffre's recollection of the evening in question.
I mean, it was horrible, and this guy was sweating all over me. Like, his sweat was like, it was raining basically everywhere, and I was just like, whoa, grossed out from it. But I knew I had to keep him happy because that's what Jeffrey and Ghislaine would expect from me.
So if we can call this a he said, she said situation, now that we've heard what they both have to say in nationally televised interviews, what are we supposed to make of all of this?
You know, it's tricky because we are hearing very opposing accounts from Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre. Neither of them has deviated from their position. Virginia, that she was a victim of this sex trafficking ring run by Epstein, and that she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew on 3 occasions. And Andrew's denials that he never even remembers meeting Virginia, let alone any kind of sexual encounter.
One thing I keep coming back to is what possible reason would Giuffre have for lying? What's there to gain here for her?
It's really hard to imagine. I mean, Virginia repeatedly says that she is speaking out to be a voice for victims of sex trafficking. That her silence will only lead to more people in power feeling that they can get away with this kind of thing. That's how she feels, and so for her, it's brought a lot of harsh spotlight on her personal life and her ordeal, and she feels that it's her obligation to be a voice for truth.
Yeah, certainly a tough position. Okay, back on November 22nd, Andrew announced he'd be, quote, stepping back from public duties for the foreseeable future. But now after this Giuffre interview, what are you hearing about Prince Andrew's royal status? Where are we now?
Yeah, when we first heard him say the words foreseeable future, it was vague, but it was also kind of, open-ended, certainly. And I think what was so surprising after his interview was just how quickly everything moved and how many charities, just rapidly dropped their association with him. And then the other part of that, the way that the family, behind the scenes, sort of, seem to distance themselves. Not personally. The Queen is still his mother. We've seen them out together riding. She, that's a separate relationship. But on the professional level, the family business is their business. We've seen them, willing and quickly willing to say, you need to remove yourself from our day-to-day business.
So finally, Michelle, what do you think the future holds now for Prince Andrew?
Well, it's interesting because his younger daughter, his older daughter, Beatrice, is getting married next year.
Yeah.
And I think, it's going to be interesting to see. He had quite a prominent role in his other daughter, Eugenie's wedding last year. And this will be kind of the biggest family occasion since this scandal really blew up. So I think we're going to see a lot of close scrutiny on what kind of a role he plays, how visible he is at events like that. And then in terms of his work, I think we're going to continue to see him receding from much of his, royal responsibility. And I also think that, we're going to see the fallout from this not dissipate. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Andrew to come back